Online, are you able to hear us?
I've got some handouts over here from the audience. Okay, we're gonna reference. You will have access to files to customize that. Actually, when is it is not.
Can either of you online confirm you can hear us?
I can hear you.
Thank you. So this is Popcorn Accounting. The main room is the other breakout. So if you're wanting that one, you can put yourself back in that one.
Which one is considered the Trails End app breakout?
I don't think there is one. There's only two. Like two Zoom?
Jamie's teaching the trail.
Yeah, but they don't have on Zoom. I only have two.
The Trails End app one is not on Zoom, I'm being told.
That's what I was, but I mean, that's what's on the screen.
Well, the screen, if that's what was on the screen.
Okay. There's only that session, that one.
Okay. And the sessions that aren't on Zoom will be recorded and then put up on the Facebook page and YouTube tomorrow.
Yeah, to see what it was.
Okay, so if that's the one I signed up to look for, I can probably just go out then.
Yeah, you could if you want. And then just check
Okay.
online tomorrow for the recording of it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. You actually. And you, I would say you got 3 minutes.
Oh, are you worried?
I'm always worried about it.
Oh. Reach out to me tomorrow. Okay. Talk to you then. Two minutes.
40 minutes long?
There's a lot of stuff.
Well,
So I actually was like worried. I'm gonna go. Some.
no.
Yeah, it doesn't. Like, I'm gonna end up time for questions. Hi, welcome. Can I have some handouts up here? If you want some handout, we're gonna be going over some material. You're fine.
Yeah, she brought it
I have 6 pages down.
I'm the one that do one, you know, but I'll come right back. Like 2 minutes to go get food.
So welcome to Popcorn County. Thank you guys for coming. My name is Elizabeth Norbaum. Hello, everyone. This is my 4th year as Popcorn Colonel, running popcorn sales for our pack. My first year, so I'll tell just a brief snippet of my story. You've heard me talk before, you probably heard me say this before, so sorry to twice. But my first year doing popcorn sales was 2020. So COVID, that was my very first year doing popcorn sales. And I remember I sat down with our leadership team and I said, guys, either we have money for a program this year or we don't. So we have to make a decision as a leadership team, is this something we want to do? And everyone came back and said, yes, let's do it. So we just kind of jumped in with both feet, even during COVID, during the challenges of masks and all of the drama and challenges through that whole thing with kids, having a hard time speaking to customers. And our pack sold 40,000 that year, okay, in popcorn, okay? That was my first year running our popcorn sale. Previously, the most that we had ever sold as a unit up to that point was, I believe, close to 15,000. So I just want to talk. So so I'm going to be giving you guys, of course, we're going to go over the accounting stuff, really plenty of room at the end for questions. But so jumping off that year when our families could see what kind of program we had with 40,000 in popcorn, it really just the whole, people's perspectives completely changed on why we sell popcorn. For the first time, people actually saw, wow, our entire program year is funded. We don't have to pay for anything. This is a free program for our families. And that's kind of the impact and reason why I am so passionate about popcorn, because of how it impacts our families and our program. So my second year selling popcorn, we had our annual planning meeting, which we do in June of every year. And I said to everyone, hey guys, I know we sold 40,000 last year, but I'm going to set a goal of 60,000 this year. And oh my gosh, you would have thought that I had three heads. They thought you were crazy. There's absolutely no way you guys are going to sell, we're going to sell 60,000 popcorn. I said, no, guys, I have a plan. Done the math. We can do this. I know we can. And we ended up selling $120,000 of popcorn second year.
Yes, we did.
Now, last year, third year doing it. Now, at this point, the families are catching on. Wow, look at all of the amazing stuff we did. We went and saw Tournament of the Kings. We did indoor skydiving. Everything that we can imagine and want to do for our kids for a program happens. So this, and we did the USS Midway. So all kinds of amazing adventures. We did Snorri. We booked out the entire Snorri event in San Diego too. So this
25,000 or something like that.
yeah, 20,000, yeah, to do that. So this last year, I said, okay, guys, let's really amp this up. What can we sell for popcorn? And we sold 226,000, and we were #1 in the country. So yeah, I know. So obviously, there's work that goes into that. There's a lot about motivation, and some of the other sessions are going to kind of touch on some of the motivations. Fred Walls is doing the incentive session. I sent him some of our screens and ways that we incentivize our scouts. So I definitely recommend stepping in there and watching that presentation as well. But today I'm primarily going to cover kind of the inventory management accounting side of popcorn. I'll leave plenty of room at the time for the end for questions, or if there's something that's pertinent, please just jump in. And if it's unclear, please ask me, because I know some of this will be a little technical, but I'm going to try to make math as fun as possible for everyone here. Okay. So.
Yeah, got that.
Right? There you go. Okay. So why do we do it? Why do we do popcorn accounting? First of all, we need to be good stewards of the money that our scouts raise. Okay. So it's very important that there are some sort of accounting process in place to make sure we are doing a good job of all the hard work that these kids are doing with this money. Second of all, and this is a big one, I have noticed in 3 years of doing this, we've sold almost $400,000 of popcorn. Without fail, 10% of what we sell does not make it in the app. And that's with us using the app very studiously, entering things in. It's about 10%. So 10% is a lot of money. So when we do this reconciliation process, the reason we reconcile is to make sure that our scouts get credit for those sales and everything is being entered correctly in the app. So that's kind of a big emphasis of what I'm going to focus on for this session. It also lets you know how much popcorn is left for you to sell. Well, if you don't have accurate reporting or reconciling going on, you're not going to know how much do I have left. Now, maybe you have a small order. You can walk over and count the boxes. But I guarantee you, as you guys get better and better, your scouts get better and better at selling, we had to rent 2 storage units this year for our early bird popcorn. Okay, I can't go in there and count and see how much we have. So having these reconciling processes in place is key to making sure that you know what you have on hand. What popcorn is checked out? What have you sent out to kids? We're gonna kind of cover that as far as inventory as well. Accurately reporting your sales, and also the Scouts Honor Commission that they have this year is dependent upon accurately reporting the revenue. Does anyone have any questions about this? No? So, when you're in Trails and on the admin side, we're gonna only be working on the admin side. We're not gonna be working it with the app at all. That's gonna be covered in the app training. The admin side allows you to track your unit inventory. So when you guys have placed your popcorn sales, or if you haven't yet, or if you have, when you log in, this should be on your dashboard. You'll be able to see a breakdown of what's been ordered and the quantity of those. Now, these numbers will start changing as the sales go. So you'll start to get some data. You'll be able to see the sales breakout percentage. That's really important because early popcorn is a good indicator of what you guys are gonna sell, how much of each product. So it lets you know, oh man, I ordered way too much salted caramel. That was my mistake the first year. Way too much salted caramel. And I have a tip for how to get rid of it too. But literally, it literally was insane. I was like, oh my gosh. So it gives you some really good indicators of what your percentages of your sales are, and it helps you do a better job the following year of ordering too. You'll start to see your sold quantity. This is important, your quantity at the site or scout. So as you assign inventory to your storefronts or to your scouts, you'll be able to see what's living somewhere else than at your unit. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, this is the storefront inventory. So one of the first things you do is you've got your storefront booked. Now you're like, I've got to ship all this popcorn and send it with someone who's going to open up the first ship. That's what we're doing here. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to select how many of each item. And this isn't a box. This is like per item, per jar, bag, or unbelievable butter. And you're going to want to put it here and you're going to say, it's going to go to the storefront from the unit. Okay. And the reason why this is important is that if you do not set your storefront inventory from the beginning, when you are the popcorn kernel and you're at home and you're watching the live sales come in, you're going to have a hard time accurately saying what's left and what you need to run over to restock. So it's very beneficial to have that information up front. And as a rule of thumb, I really recommend, it depends on how many hours you're there. We usually sell from 8 to 6. And the reason why is because for us, reconciliation takes a long time, if you can imagine, on the weekends, because we're running between 8 to 10 storefronts a day on Saturday and Sunday. Okay. So because we're doing that many, that's how much it takes. It takes a while. So for us, we only sell from 8 to 6. There are units that sell from 8 to 8, and they can be very successful in these last hours, just logistically for us to give ourselves enough time to check all the popcorn back in, to get all the money, to count it. That time frame works best for us. So what you're going to want to do is assign all your inventory here. And then let's go on to the next thing here. And I'll go into that for a second. I recommend starting out with like 2,000 for your storefronts to make sure you don't have to stop and restock. If their car can fit it, I would try to send at least 2,000 inventory just to get a feel for it, especially in early popcorn. There is a lot of difference between the very beginning of the sale and the very end of the sale when the market gets saturated. So as people are like, I already bought a box, you know, here. And then what cracks me up, my favorite, is when they tell us, we already bought a box at Home Depot. And I'm like, yeah, Home Depot didn't pay us sell there. I know you did. So that happens quite a bit. We all. So does anyone have any questions about the storefront inventory before I jump into the scout side? Yeah. Okay. So now we're going to jump into the scout inventory. So this would be considered your wagon sales. Okay. Now and if you notice your handouts that you have here, you're going to see there is a wagon popcorn checkout form. Okay. And the reason we do this is we do something called a standard wagon box. Okay. And this is to save our sanity. So this is to save us a lot of time. So we prep these boxes in advance from our inventory. And the reason we do this is because it makes checking out, wagon sales easy. Here's a box. Here you go. You don't have to say, well, how many of this one and this one did he get? They could take 2 boxes. They could take 3 boxes, but you know how much that scout has taken. But you do have people that just need 2 bags of this or whatever. So that's always an option to add on here as well. Once we get this form and filled out, one of our popcorn team members will go into the scout So this is my son Wyatt. And they'll just come in here and they'll say, okay, he checked out, 10 s'mores. And you're gonna go ahead and put from the unit to the scout. Does that make sense? And this is really helpful because now you know this popcorn's living with him. When he sells it, you can see if he sold it, you can say, no, we're not gonna check you out more until you sell everything that's in here, or you've turned in the cash for it. It just kind of gives you a little bit more quality, like control over that whole process. Does anyone have any questions about that? Okay, so we use the wagon checkout forms to track what inventory your scouts have checked out, and it also holds the families financially responsible. So there's a little blurb at the bottom. It must be returned in new unopened condition. We really hold our families to this. We can't afford to have thousands and thousands of dollars of popcorn destroyed or, left in someone's car and smashed and, hey, no, we'll turn it back in. No. New unopened condition. We need it back. Otherwise, they're responsible for paying for it. Using the Trails End admin side, we move the inventory under the scout. That's what I just demonstrated. Once it's moved in Trails End, we actually take this form and we use a carbon copy. So this isn't very accurate, but there's a yellow side to this on the back. So I just made them myself. You can actually order carbon copy paper online if printing and do it yourself. I don't know if you know that, but you can do it. It's actually not hard to do at all. But the yellow copy, what it does is the yellow copy will go to the family. That is their copy. They know they're financially responsible. We give that to them. We also have this one. Once we've moved inventory over, we initial this. So we know we've already done it in Trails End. So we already have it initialed on our side from a PowerPoint team member, if that makes sense. And that's just a way for us to keep track, right? Because what was happening before is I get a text message, hey, I want 2 bags of this. Hey, I want a box of this. And then we would forget, right? I mean, because, you get so many messages coming in. This is a better way for us to control and know exactly what each scout has. We also do the wagon popcorn payments and returns form. So if they want to return popcorn, we have it here. So again, in the inventory for the scouts, we can now take that inventory and we can now put it back to the unit, right? So like it showed earlier, you can move some from the unit or you can move it back to the unit. If they turn popcorn back in, it would go back to the unit. Okay. And and this is also an important one here, is you can actually, we have it here, under manage cash, let's say they turn in cash for popcorn. There's this wonderful feature in the app where they can pay it right through there, but you always have 1 or 2 parents want to hand you physical cash, which kills me. I'm like, less cash I have to touch, the better. So I always tell them, please pay through the app for any wagon sale popcorn you receive cash for. But if it happens and you have it here, or there's a check that they got from a family member that you need to take, you can manage that cash here and mark that it was received. So there it shows it reflects the scout's account. Okay. We already went, so these are the forms I was talking about. Does anyone have any questions? Yep.
Standard wagon box, or you breaking broken boxes?
Absolutely. So what we do is we take boxes, usually it's the big ones like white cheddar, it'll be s'mores this year, those bigger ones, and we put this, and you can change this, and these forms will be available, guys, to download. I'm gonna give you the link at the end of this to do that. You can customize this. Like, let's say this isn't a good fit for you guys. You can change this to whatever you want it to be. But for us, this is what we are anticipating based on historical sales, what we think the percentage of each product is gonna be. So we kind of, this we made it. No one knows until we actually sell it. That's our guess. Anyone else have any other questions? Okay, now reconciling storefronts. We're going to get into the really fun math side of all this, guys. The part where please do not curse me on Sunday night and say, Elizabeth, you did not tell me it was going to be like this. But it's a little bit of work. I don't want to get this text message. Okay. These are important things when it comes to reconciling your storefronts. Always have 2 people for accountability while handling money. This should be a non-negotiable thing in your path. And it's not because we don't think you're trustworthy, but it also protects you. Okay, it protects you from having someone say, well, what do you do? You know what I mean? You don't even want there to be a question. You want to put controls in place to where nothing can be questioned in how you're handling the units. Okay, shift sheets. Those are one of the handouts that you have. We're going to go through each of these items in further screens. shift envelopes to keep your shift sheet and any cash minus the change during shift signed by the parents of the scouts, popcorn deposit slips, and a money counter. Okay. That money counter, we bought it way too late, guys, okay? So please be so optimistic with your sales, but as soon as you start seeing big weekends, just buy it. I know it's $200, but it will save you so many hours of time, I cannot tell you. We spent 5 hours one night counting $15,000 in cash. That's how long it took us, 5 hours, because we had to double check everything. And most of it was ones. Oh, heaven help me. It was torture.
I stopped at the bank and I got it all at once before I turned it in.
Thanks, Ryan. So I really, you know, if you guys are looking to sell 20 to 40 a year, just buy it. It's $200. I know it's like, oh, you know, I felt guilty, but I was like, come on, we sold this much popcorn. We just need to buy it. And I wish we'd done it sooner. It has saved us hours. Okay. So here's the process for reconciling just from soup to nuts, which I learned. Does anyone know what that phrase comes from?
No.
Soup to nuts? Okay. It has to do with a full course meal from soup all the way to a nutty dessert. I did not know that. So the fun fact for the day. That's where that phrase comes from. So now you know. The first thing you're going to do is you are going to verify your shift envelope cash. So what is these right here? You guys have these envelopes, copy of these. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to verify that cash. Okay. The next thing is we're going to do the shift reconciliation. We're going to make sure people entered in everything they were supposed to in the app and it matches your reports. We're going to do the storefront reconciliation. We're going to go from beginning to end and make sure that the inventory that you assigned at the beginning and the inventory that got turned into at the end of the day matches so that you are good to go. In trail's end, you're going to post the cash received, and then we're going to reassign any remaining inventory from the storefront back to the unit. That's just how we finish it out. We're going to print out our storefront sales report and staple the shift sheets, envelopes for each storefront, and then file for your records. So I'm going to go through each of these individually, so you don't get overwhelmed. And if you guys have questions, please raise your hand. So I know it's a lot. So verifying your cash and totaling for deposits. So we use these shift envelopes, and these were a game changer for us. These envelopes will allow you to put additional layers of security and safety in place with money accountability, okay, more controls. So you will have your families who are doing the shift fill these out. You have the parent name and their signature of who's signing off, and they're going to write the dollar amount on this, okay? Then they're going to seal it with a nice little strip. You don't have to lick it, just seal it. And this will allow you, when you receive those envelopes, to verify what's in it. And they're not always right, but that's why you have two people there to count it and make sure. And then you guys will initial this to confirm that was correct, and you'll keep this for your records. So if there's anything needs to be audited for any reason, you have that. So once you've done all this, you can do this before you even touch the inventory. Just take all the cash out of the envelopes, verify it, add all the cash together, and put together your deposit. So we leave room here for notes, so you can note, you know, what storefronts you are depositing or any other thing of importance you can note here. And if you notice, we also have the popcorn rep who's there and their signatures. You have, again, accountability with people knowing exactly what is being deposited and it matches everything that's in the envelopes. Yep.
I have a question. We do something similar to that.
Mhm.
Each shift has their own, they count their money, they do that. But how do you pinpoint if someone was short money to product? Because
Yes, we're gonna get to that.
Okay.
We're gonna
that's
get,
where
yeah,
I have a big problem, like, oh, the money says we're $20 short, but
yes.
well, how do we know what shift was $20 short or what product was
Yeah.
$20?
We're gonna get into that, yeah.
Okay.
So on this step, you're just gonna worry about the money. Just count it, get it out of the way with your money counter that you're all gonna buy it, right? Save yourself some time. I'm just saying, I'm a big fan. So once you get that cash kind of your deposit ready, you send a copy of your bank, the slip to your treasurer if she's not there, he or she isn't there, just to make sure there's additional accountability. We actually have a popcorn team. So we take a picture of this and we post to our chat for the whole team to see. So anything you can do, I'm just like, you never want to put yourself in a position where someone can say something. And we're just like, again, we're being good stewards of the money the scouts are running, right? Okay. Now we're gonna get into shift reconciliation. This is where it's fun. This is where you're gonna be cursing me at midnight on Sunday night saying, Elizabeth, you did not tell me it was this difficult. So what we recommend doing is we use our shift sheet. So these, you should have a copy. Okay. And I filled one out as a sample just to give you guys an idea of what happens in a realistic scenario with sales. So here we have on from 8 to 10 at Smith, we have John Doe as the scout, Jill Doe as the parent. The starting inventory here, we emphasize, and I cannot tell you how much every weekend we sell. Do not copy someone's shift sheet on inventory. Do not copy someone's shift sheet. Do not copy. Because what happens is that person makes a mistake and we can tell who's copied and who hasn't, because we can tell the mistake keeps continuing through all the way through. So we tell them, count your own inventory. Now this starting inventory, we should know what this is, right? Because we assigned that inventory at the beginning, right? When we shipped it out to them, they came, they picked up the popcorn, we already assigned it to them. The ending inventory, let's say this is the last shift of the day. We should be able to verify that. So when they drop off that popcorn, we actually take this shift sheet and we verify that these numbers match with what's being turned in before we start to reconcile and take this home and counter. So we double check the starting and we double check the ending to make sure that this matches our starting inventory, this matches what was checked in. Now, if you do those two things, I've never been able to not figure out what the mistake is. Okay, as long as you are doing your starting or ending inventory. Now, here, we get this sheet from them. We can say, okay, they sold 5 kettle corn, 3 popping, 14 white cheddar, 3 12-pack, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, we can tell this. We're going to go into the report and show you how to verify this in just a minute. Now, this ending inventory and this starting inventory should be the same. Sometimes it's not. So they've either made a mistake, someone has made a mistake, but we can usually figure it out by pulling up the report and seeing what the sales are. Okay, and we're going to get to that. Does anyone have any questions on this part? Okay. So matching your shift sheet reports in Trails End. Okay. I'm going to skip ahead just to show you something real quick. So here's a sample of the report, the sales transaction detail report that's in Trails End. Now, I edit this because I've been begging Jared, so everyone look at Jared in the corner back there, to build a report for me for 2 years that will save me hours of time each weekend. I'm going to put you on the spot. And so the reason why is they add a whole bunch of fields in here that we don't need in their report. So these are the ones that are important for you when you're reconciling. Okay, so I just delete out the ones I don't need. And this is what we use to reconcile. So if I pull a report for, 8/2/23 for this storefront, I can see that John Doe sold 1 kettle corn here, $15, it was cash, the date, the location, and the shift. And the shift is important here. And does anyone know why the shift is really important to check with sales? For these scouts that are selling. It's because, how are we doing on time? Okay, we're good. It's because a lot of times Trails End, have you ever had a little thing pop up on you in the app that says, do you want to shift? Maybe the person behind you is running late and says, do you want to switch to the next shift? Yes, it happens. So what happens is John Doe all of a sudden, or will have a 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. show up here. So what I do is you're going to want to sort the report by the date, by the site, and by the shift. And you're going to want to make sure that all of John Doe's live in that shift, that nothing got moved accidentally. Okay. Yeah. I know this is a lot, guys. So I always do this first because things get moved around. So I can correct that. I can go into the admin side under the storefront, under orders, and I can edit that order and change the shift, okay? That's pretty easy to do. But it helps me because those totals are gonna be wrong. Not only that, but the scout's gonna get the wrong commission, like the wrong sales numbers. So they're actually gonna get, what's gonna happen is John now is splitting with Michael Scott, anyone Office fan? And basically he will have show as getting part of Michael's sales, and we don't want that. Yep.
So is that doing it by shift commission or is that doing it by individual?
So we do, so that's a great question. So it depends on what you guys choose and how you break down your commissions for your unit. So some people like to take all the shifts and equally split it among all the scouts for the day. We do not do that. We say, this is your shift, you have ownership of how much work you put into this shift. So you deserve to get credit for what you have sold. And that's how we operate. And I know everyone has different feelings on that.
How many kids do you even have in the fit?
What? If you have 2 kids at a storefront, now all your scouts have to sell for twice as long. If you have 3 kids at a storefront, all their sell 3 times as long. So we only do 1 scout per shift unless it's a family and their siblings and they can't, but we highly encourage most families with 2 kids in the program. One parent is at one with 1 kid at one site, one parent is at 1 kid at another site, and they split it because that's half the time for these families. Our goal is to get them to hit their goals quickly, and then let's move on for the year. Just have fun.
How many steps do you have?
What?
How many steps do you have? Do
Right now, I think we're close to 40.
you have a shoe for a scout not showing?
Okay, so that's one thing that I would say in past years has been an issue. So typically with our popcorn team, we have a team, there's no way you can sell 120,000, 226,000 without more than 1 person. You need a team of people to help you. It's just, unless you don't want to have a life from September to November. Okay, I mean, you just have to have a team. So we will have 1 person on standby from the team for the weekend that can run if needed in an emergency. Like we had a kid throw up one time at a storefront. I mean, that's, what are you gonna do? I mean,
Yeah.
the store was awesome. They came and cleaned it up for us. You know, we sprayed and disinfected everything we could. But those things are gonna happen. So we have 1 person on standby to run if needed, but we do emphasize heavily every weekend that we have our sales. We use an app called Band for all of our communication. It has our calendar, our chats for each day, our events, our photo albums. That is like our go-to for communication for our families, but not everyone's on Facebook, you know, and we've had so many issues with GroupMe. It just combines everything we need in one. So we switched to that, I think, like, for years ago. So we emphasize in that chat, we set up a chat each weekend for that popcorn sale. So for Saturday, I create a chat for anyone that's selling on Saturday and Sunday, and I emphasize our code of conduct at the storefronts to everyone to reread. I emphasize all donations must be entered. You know, we don't get to keep those donations. They don't go to the kids, they don't go to the parents, they don't go just to the unit. We have to enter those. We're obligated to do that with our scouts on. We have to do that. And so when we do that, if something happens, they know, you know, they're kind of held accountable because they have to say this person didn't show, like other people are going to see. Does that make sense? So we have less of an issue once we started showing, and we emphasize it's commitment. We can't rework our whole day around you, you know. But if that truly we can't fill it and not show it, worst case scenario, sometimes the kid will stay for 2 more hours if they want. If they can't handle, the parent will break down, the next shift will just pick it up in their house and go. Does that make sense?
So your standby is an adult and a scout?
It just depends. It depends on people's availability. Sometimes it's just been an adult.
We
Because
had
the
a
scouts
lot of
don't.
years, so.
Yeah, we have like 20 leaders, but I mean, the popcorn team, there's 5 people in our team this year. Okay, but again, if you're gonna sell much popcorn, you need that much support. That's like non-negotiable. Okay, so anyway, so when we're reconciling this, this is the report I use to make sure that that shift sheet is correct. Okay, if it's wrong, then I know that either, if it's not showing those sales in here, then I know either it was missed, they forgot to put it in, or maybe they accidentally did white cheddar instead of s'mores, and I need to go in there and delete the white cheddar and re-add it. Now, if it's a credit, you can't do that, but there is an option in the inventory to do a manual adjustment of like 1-for-1. You can actually go in there and do that. But I don't want to like get too much in the weeds of all the details, okay? So do you guys want my phone number so you can call me at midnight?
We will.
Okay, so I broke down what I just told you here. I said, once you've marked each shift sheet with what items have been sold, you'll now pull up the reports. Edit the reports, use these fields, sort the report by the site name and the shift, total how much of each popcorn item sold per shift, okay? Then you compare that to the shift. Man, I can say that really badly. That could be not bad. Total cash sales for each shift and compared to the shift envelope cash. So what that means is I can see here for John Doe, I am recording this much cash. Okay, so you need to add this up. Now you need to take John Doe's shift envelope Does this match what we have in cash here? Oh no, there's extra cash in here. He didn't account for it. Well, it's one of two things. Either he forgot to record a sale or it's donations. And you should be able to tell that from the inventory shift sheets what it is. And either manually add that order for them. And it's always the new families, you know, and there's always one family every year that I know is just my problem family. And I just know it's gonna be a lot of extra work to help reconcile them. Does anyone have any questions about this? I know this is a lot. Yes,
Would you be able to just, yeah, I'm new and
That's okay.
I'm gonna be in charge of all the popcorn for our unit. What do you do at storefront and what do you do at home?
okay, so storefront is just about selling the popcorn. So all this reconciliation that I'm talking about happens on Sunday night for us.
Are you talking about wagon tail? Okay.
Oh, what are you talking about? Storefronts or
All
wagons?
of it.
Yeah, okay. Well, yes. So like the inventory assignment, we just take those sheets. We have a storage unit. They can pick up the wagon box, they can fill out the form. We have a little box there, you know, it's labeled. So we have a popcorn team member that's doing inventory, will gather those and enter them. So you can kind of work out, you know, logistically how it would work best for you.
So you take, like, you said like $2,000 worth of, or 2,000 items?
It's $2,000.
$2,000 worth of product
Yes, which is not as much as you think.
per storefront from A to Z.
Yes.
Okay, so you either, however it is, drop it off there in the morning and you leave it there and then they do their.
No. I do not drop it off.
Or who?
They come pick it
Okay,
up.
they pick it up, however.
Do yourself a favor
Yeah.
and have a set pickup time. So what we do is we say pickup is from here to here. And so for a Saturday shift, we have pickup on Friday night. Okay, and depending on how many storefronts we do, like, let's say we have enough supplies where that weekend we're not doing as many storefronts for whatever reason, we'll do Saturday and Sunday pickup on Friday night. Okay, and then we'll have someone there at the warehouse, at the storage unit to accept at the end of the night. That's why we end at 6, because we all, you know, we want to get home at a decent hour to go and to accept the popcorn. They verify that ending inventory for the last shift to make sure it matches what's been checked in. If it's not, they'll manually change it on their initial. And then that way we know there was a mistake made, but we can backtrack where it was by looking at the report and the shift sheets.
We'd have bank bags at the booth, so at the end of each shift, you'd seal the bag, seal
So-
your envelope, put it in the bank. bag.
Yeah, so this is what it looks like. Our storefront, what we send with money. I love these bins, by the way. They lock, durable, they're amazing. They hold everything you need. You can get them Office Depot. They're called like the Everything Box, 17-liter version. Just throwing it out there. We have like a personal fan, 'cause it's hot, you know, I mean, it's hot early. We do hand sanitizer, we do our banner, and then we have, this is our bag, okay? So in the bag, we have our square readers. We have both the, you know, Android and iPhone ones in there, so no one brings their own, we have them located there. We have a clipboard with their shift sheets, they'll hack the boards and take up much room. We have our envelope, so each person will take their envelope, right? Envelope, fill it out, seal it, and it goes back in this bag. The popcorn team members collect all the envelopes at the end of the night. Okay, and then we take them home and reconcile it like that. What?
Where do we get a stack of envelopes like that?
Well, I have a link to the folder, and to the files for you at the end of this. So you can download it and you can buy, I get these ones on Amazon. So I get these ones on Amazon and then I can't print them. And my printer loves them, so I printed 1,200 of these 5 at a time. Yeah, let me just say, my printer didn't, yeah, it was painful. Do you want to give me a new printer, Jared? Okay. So let's see if it covered it there. Okay. Yep. If there's more cash in the envelope than the reported trails, then it means either product sales or donations were not entered in the Trails End app at the storefront. Okay. In Trails End admin side, manually enter the orders under the storefront and shift if needed to correct any missed sales and or donations. If there's a duplicate order or error, those orders can be deleted if they're cash. If someone accidentally does a double credit order, you can only refund it the same day, which is why we reconcile Sunday nights when we do it. So we've never had to reach out to support. Usually if it's a serious issue, Trails End can help us out. The support team is great over there, very quick at responding if we have problems. But cash is easy to fix, credit is not. Okay, so sometimes this has to just be manually edited if it was like a mistake of this bag versus this bad way to inventory adjust for those. Does anyone have any other questions about this? You guys will. Your first night, okay. So once you have, so this is our storefront here in Trails End. Under the storefront, here it's gonna show we don't actually use the starting cash, but one thing we do include in here for us to mention is we always keep $50 in change, fives. What's beautiful is that our council only does increments of fives for all of their products. Be grateful we are not one that has to carry one, like there's some councils that have something for $12. Can you imagine all the ones you have to keep on hand? Be awful. So we do $50 in fives in each envelope as well. So in this part of the app under cash, it's gonna say cash due from site. This is where you take your shift envelopes, these guys, okay? And you basically will then say, okay, this was this much money for this shift, and I enter them in one at a time. And the reason I do that is that if there's a mistake, I can go back and track it down. So this is $205. I'll put $205 in there and I'll pick up the next one. I'll put 185. It just makes it easier to figure out if there was an error where it was later, if I need to correct it. Okay, and that, all of this is going to show up in the report. Oops, jumping ahead here. Okay. Okay, now after adding your cash, you reconcile it so all the orders match. So your report matches what was actually sold versus what was checked out versus what was checked in. Hakuna Matata. All of that, you're gonna then take anything that's left for inventory under your unit, and you're gonna hit return all inventory to unit. So what this does is it takes all the inventory, and I'm sorry, this was like a real one, so it's a bad example. We aren't gonna have 10 gold level hero and help locations, but like, let's say we had, you know, all of these other things here still assigned, that stuff they didn't sell popcorn. When I click return all inventory to unit, it's gonna push everything back to the unit, and it's gonna zero out the store. Okay, now nothing's living under there. So now when I go over my dashboard, and I can see how much inventory do I have in my unit, how much inventory do I have in my stores, my scouts, those numbers are now accurate, because I returned all this inventory back. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, so sorry, guys. We can stay, there's a break, a 10-minute break. If you guys have questions, please stay and I'll answer it. Your storefront sales reports here. So print and review your storefront sales reports. This is the report that you're gonna print at the very end. So you've entered in your cash, you've reconciled your stuff, and I have a sample here of an actual one, because we don't have any numbers in yet, it's so awkward. To show you what that looks like. But you can actually see cash adjustments for when I entered in what was in an envelope here. So I'll pass this around if you guys want to look at it. That's an actual, I take all of those envelopes, all of the shift sheets, and I staple it to that. So if something comes back and I need the audit for whatever reason, everything is there for that shift in that store. Okay. And so we're gonna go to your council invoice. I'm gonna rush this part a little fast, I'm sorry. To access your council invoice, you go in the Trails and admin side and you can see what you owe them. To submit the rewards for your scouts, your council popcorn invoice must be paid in full. Credit card transactions will automatically credit to your council invoice. It can take 2 to 4 days for that credit to process. And additional payments to your popcorn invoice can be made to the scout shop. You need to reach out to Ryan Moon if you need more questions about how to make payments on your invoice. Like you're getting all this cash and you're depositing it, but it's not going to reflect on your invoice. Does that make sense? So sometimes you have to make a payment to council, but you can wait because if you're getting a credit card transaction, that will just zero out. Unit payouts, that's if you have credit card transactions above your invoice amount. They're available once your invoice is paid in full. So if you have more credit card that pays off your invoice and money's still rolling in and you're not seeing it, you're like, we don't see this money, you can get paid through the app. You can set that up. Okay. The Amazon rewards. To claim, council invoice must be paid in full. Helpers and heroes order must be placed to match your unit inventory of all donations. So all your donations, you have to have an order placed to match. You can submit your rewards for Amazon multiple times, which is great for scouts who stop selling earlier in the sale. So you don't have to like wait till the very end of the sale to submit. You want to submit them early and you're able to, you can. And scouts can still receive multiple gift cards if they continue to sell. So you don't need to feel like you have to hold it or hostage that. And then during the sale, this is important. Keep an eye out for scouts who are close to crossing those reward thresholds. Okay. This is how we got so many kids to sell so much. We were very hands-on with saying, hey, are you, buddy, you're one shift away from hitting $1,000 in gift cards. Are you sure you don't want to go spend 2 hours selling? Okay. And believe me, they're going to want to do Make
Plus,
sure.
don't forget the little gift that they get at the end.
I know, yeah. And then make sure all 2020 gift cards have been claimed by the scouts because they will expire at the end of 2023. You'll be able to see this in the app under rewards. Make sure those kids claim them. They will not get them at the end of the year. And then here's a QR code. And all of the files, that handouts here, even the slide, if you want to go back through it and read more detail, is available there. No problem.
You said that.
Okay. So, does anyone have any questions? Yes,
Yeah, a lot.
that's okay.
Where do you fire money?
I just did on Amazon. It was like $200.
Sam's Club also.
Do they? That's good.
Do the square meters work okay? I've heard they don't work that well when the kids just entered on.
No. It will save you so much time. So some people love the Bluetooth ones. I'm not a personal fan because they have to be charged. We're running 20 booths, up to 20 booths a weekend. Do you know how much work that is to make sure everything's charged? So I just keep it simple. I just give them one iPhone compatible square one that just plugs in, and then one Android one.
What do you do with the new phones?
Do
Like
they
you
not
don't
have-
have the jacks.
We have to once plug into where your power cord you plug in. The
That's where it
iPhone,
goes.
it goes
It's
right.
not the
Some of
audio
the
jack.
new phones have changed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
they,
the
And-
outside instead of the insert inside.
If it's outside, then you can use either the Bluetooth or you could do manual entry ones too. You do-
That's what we ran into last year, how the Android one.
People were able to use their Androids. We didn't have anyone who was able to use their Android.
The headphone jack.
Yeah,
right?
headphone jack,
And then it's a little $4 adapter that turns it into a USB-C.
Yes,
For those new
correct,
Androids.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we have the USB-C adapter for Android that works with.
Those didn't work for us last year. Like, we just got it off of Amazon and it didn't work for us.
Did you get an actual square one?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. So, we didn't have any problems and we did like 226,000, so.
What was your percentage of lost breakage? Do you guys have any?
Any wet losses were very minimal. Very minimal, but we, when we transport our display, we use crates. So we actually have wooden crates we use 5 wooden crates, they have an IKEA. And I don't have it here, I'm sorry, but that's how we set up our display. And so we preload those with a set amount, so we know how much is in that. And then we give additional boxes depending on how long, what store it is. You kind of get a feel for it and then you do it, how much you should do. The goal though is for you to not have to run and refill them, right? You know, 'cause that's just so much time. It'll burn you out. I did that my first year. I literally went around with the trailer, attached to my Jeep, and drove to 7 different sites of like, yeah, it was ridiculous. I learned my lesson after the first year.
Maybe more for council side or even Trails End, but what happens after turn, right? So we sell 80%, turn 20% back in. Obviously, there's other units that are checking that out.
Yes.
But what happens at the end of the year when there's leftover popcorn? that the council has?
So council, Ryan, you want to speak to that? When you guys
Yes,
do your extra
that's
stuff?
that heroes and helpers. So
Yeah.
that's that cash donation, we then use that to offset the extra popcorn. That's why we allow, we're one of the few councils in the nation that allow returns. Most
Got it.
councils here.
Yeah.
So that's the popcorn we've been buying from ourselves, to donate
Yeah.
to the VA hospital. to the-
So-
So that's why we accept returns. We turn around and give it back.
So we did about 30,000 heroes and helpers